your strength being absolutely but crazy ridiculous. I feel like I just gotta hold it for the rest of the show now.
Why is it so, it works so well?
I'm gonna like hit something though. I swear I'm gonna hit something. Oh, see? Look. Oh, Phantom Menace, how I adore. I guess it's the same, hey?
I still, to this day, ooh, it's smoking. Is that steaming? Smoking? Can you see that?
Should I open it?
Is that a bad thing? Wow. I guess this is his actual. Oh. It comes with a training. I love it. Kind of looks like a chocolate. Let's get it. Let's get it. How do I do this and not crush it? Again, there's kind of a backstory to this of why I love it so much.
It's so great. It's too great that I hated it. Oh. I think my skill set is being ridiculous. I think that's my strength. If I was in a job interview, what's your strength? Being absolutely but crazy ridiculous. I feel like I just gotta hold it for the rest of the show now.
Why is it so, it works so well?
I'm gonna like hit something though. I swear I'm gonna hit something. Oh, see? Look. Oh, Phantom Menace, how I adore. I guess it's the same, hey?
I still, to this day, ooh, it's smoking. Is that steaming? Smoking? Can you see that?
Should I open it?
Is that a bad thing? Wow. I guess this is his actual. Oh. It comes with a training. I love it. Kind of looks like a chocolate. Let's get it. Let's get it. How do I do this and not crush it? Again, there's kind of a backstory to this of why I love it so much.
It's so great. It's too great that I hated it. Oh. I think my skill set is being ridiculous. I think that's my strength. If I was in a job interview, what's your strength? Being absolutely but crazy ridiculous. I feel like I just gotta hold it for the rest of the show now. G'day there. Welcome back to the Rayside. So good to be back. It's been a while. It's been a while. I just had to check my microphone. I'm in the right microphone. We're here. It's been 2 weeks since our last live show. I've missed you. How have you been? What's been going down? So much has happened, and literally so much has happened within the past like 30 minutes. A crazy day. I'm just trying to sit here, do my little presentation on Star Wars Outlaws, and it's been such a wild morning with Star Wars news. But it's great to be back. I apologize for a bit of a quiet period here. But we have a bunch of fun, very, very fun things coming up on the channel. Of course, starting with today, this live show right now, we are diving into Star Wars Outlaws and talking about the game, but not only speculation, but my experience with the game. Because last Friday here in Australia, in Sydney, thanks to Ubisoft Australia, I headed into the Sydney City to get a bit of a presentation from a few of the developers, design, world and environment and concept design developers, to talk about the game, how they made it, and then we also got a 2 hour, it was like an hour and 45 minutes. It's like hard to tell. Of playing the game. There was me and about 10 to 15 other people. We sat down and got to play the game, which was really, really interesting, and I have a lot of thoughts from that, which we shall be divulging today. Before we get into all that juicy goss, all that information I'm now allowed to share with you, let's talk about the elephant in the room before we get into it. Hey Tyler, Master DB, Aaron. Yeah, I know. I don't know how I did that. Jason, it has been too long, my friend. Hopefully you're doing well. Tyler, how we doing? Christmas meat? Yes, indeedy do. Unfortunately, can't stay. Just dropping in and say hi. Look forward to future live streams where I can stay, have fun. We'll catch you next time, Jason. Thanks so much. Dana's back. Hey, Dana, how you doing? Hope you're doing well. It's good to see you in here. Good to see you in here. Yeah, I think it was a mixture of like, I just got busy. I mean, I had some other stuff happening last week where I couldn't do the show. And then I also was cooking up some things in the background for you all. So had to it was just a little busy. Your girl's a little busy at the minute and with stuff for the channel. So it's all good news. I always say this when I'm quiet outwardly on the channel for a little while, you know, that means there's something good cooking on the background. So thank you so much for your patience. I appreciate it. Hey, gang. Hey, Master Yava, Master Tim as well. So good. Watching Age of, who's that? Do you mean to say Ultron? Is that Age of Ultron? Is that what you mean? I don't know. Fatch is here. How we doing? JS coming in, Acolyte fan. Part of me is crying of sadness. I'm getting that steelbook when it comes out. You betcha. I think it'll come out. It'll probably come out. If Kenobium Andor came out with one, he'll probably come up with one too. Absolutely. But yeah, gang's all here. Who else is here? Where's CG? Where's Saj? Where's our boyos? And everyone back in the gang. Hunter's hologram, I should say. Hello there. Can't wait for this game. Yeah, it's gonna be good. It's gonna be a good game. So today I'm pretty much gonna break up into what I share with you into kind of two parts, because there was pretty much two parts to this event that I attended. There was the presentation that I keep talking about. You got these developers coming in. They flew all the way from France and Sweden to come talk to us here in Australia. They were absolutely fantastic, Chloe and Sam, and they just laid it out. Pretty much this, you know, not specifically like the story of the game or the kind of the promotion of the game. They talked about actually that they were lead team designers, engineers, game engineers for the game, building the world's environments and characters. So it's a lot more of that detail part of it, which I'll be sharing today. So if you're keen in that kind of gaming style, world making part of it, you're going to really love what I have to share with you today. That'll be the first part I kind of touch on. And then I'm going to talk about my actual time playing the game, which I think is probably the part most of you will be most interested to hear about. But in saying all this, this is like the live version of this. This is like this discussion now. You can ask me questions now. But there will be a fully detailed video outlining all the information we got of this game that I'll be posting tomorrow night as well. So keep your eye out for that, because that, you know, if you don't have any questions now, it might be all answered in the video dropping tomorrow. So it's going to be good. It's going to be good. I know, it's going to be good. About to get into it. Hey, Joseph. OJ in the chat. Oh my God, Alex alive. Alex alive. Is he? Is he alive? I hope so. So good. You betcha, Eric. But we'll leave that for a discussion for another day, I think. Because, yeah, can of worms with that one. But let's get into it. Before we get into it, let me preface this by saying I've never been to one of these events. And that was something that was such a incredible privilege. Obviously, in this content creation world, like being a part of these events and getting to see things like this in exclusives is something that I'm building up for. And this was really cool because there's never anything in Sydney. It's too far to go for Star Wars. You know, all the LA crew kind of out there and getting that, you know, premieres and things like that. So I was really excited to have something in Sydney. There's quite a big gaming industries, particularly in Sydney and also Melbourne, in terms of development. There's a pretty big Microsoft store in the middle of Sydney City, which is where this was at. So that was really exciting. And again, just like thank you to the team at Ubisoft. They're so Australian. Like I think that's my biggest compliment. They're so Australian. Like this wasn't like a Disney run event. This wasn't a Lucasfilm run event. This wasn't even an American run event. Like this was so Australian. They were such like just chill people. They're just like, oh yeah, come on in. Like have this like extremely exclusive game time. Like come on. Like they were so relaxed. They were so welcoming. It was absolutely wonderful. And special shout out to Laura as well for being so accommodating and everything. But yeah, going to the event again, it was this split. So we're getting this presentation from Chloe Hammond and Samuel. I'm gonna get his name wrong, so I'm gonna just bring it up before I butcher his name. There we go. What's the word? Where are these names? Sam, who is the lead concept designer, and Chloe is the lead associate team lead of the world designs as well. They came in and gave us a presentation. Now, in this presentation, we got a bunch of new kind of looks into parts of the game that was really, really interesting. They kind of presented what went into this game. So not really focusing on the storyline. We didn't delve into that too much, but they gave us an overview of what was the purpose of this game, why are they creating this game, and how did they go about actually starting to formulate the story, the purpose of what the game would look like. They gave us a great overview of that, and then went further in detail into sort of the layout and format of the game, because the actual gameplay, they say, is a little bit different from usual games, and I've got a few thoughts on that of what it's reminding me of. And also it's just a lot of design elements, but there's some really great Star Wars Easter eggs and moments and quotes that they used in here and explaining how they went about the design of the game, which I found very, very interesting. So I'm going to jump into that. Make sure you're dropping in any questions as I'm going along, because I might, forget something. I'll probably forget something. Hey, Matt P, how you doing? It's been months since I started fieldwork, so I'm happy to be here. Oh, fantastic. So cool to have you here, back in here, Mad P. Hey, shout out to a second time again, new dad in the chat, Lightning Slug, with the birth of their second daughter. Hope everyone in your family, we hope Mrs. Lightning is doing very well, and welcome to the world. Second baby Lightning. Big love sending to your family, Lightning. Very, very exciting. Very, very exciting. But let's get into it. Let's get into talking about the game. Starting off is the outline for this game that they shared was really helped me in understanding what this game is going to be about. Obviously everyone's just like, okay, it's this open world bounty hunter game. That's pretty much all I knew and understood going into this. Going, okay, that's like cool setup. What is it really actually shaping it to be? An important game, what's going to shape it to be an interesting game. So a few points to keep in mind with Outlaws is that there is not a really at all a focus on Jedi or Sith. That is not what they wanted to explore. That is very much obviously explored in the movies, the shows, the books, a lot of those things. And I'm kind of just reshaping words they've said here. So they're saying it's not going to be focused around Jedi or Sith, which I kind of like. It's somehow dicey. No, not dicey, but it can be tricky to nail that. And especially, I think, with the Jedi Fallen Order and Survivor games, that's such a big part of that game, your Jedi story. So I liked that. That made sense that they're not really touching that side of things, the Force side of things. And they're leaving that alone entirely. That makes me feel I'm happy with that, because leave that to Jedi Survivor and Fallen Order and such. Another part of this game, and this is where I start to relate other games that this reminded me of. It reminds me a little bit of the format of this gameplay of Pokemon. Now, let me explain this. Let me explain this real quick. A part of the game format, as you're going through the story, of course, you play as Kay Vess, as this smuggler, as this bounty hunter, going out into the galaxy. You will come across experts, and experts are a title of different leaders of different groups and kind of like mafia gangs and things like that that you have to defeat, and they challenge you and you work with to gain a certain skill as Kay Vess. So you don't just obviously spawn with everything you need to know to be the bounty hunter or be the best gunslinger. There's points all throughout the game that you meet people called experts, that they have a certain skill that you have to challenge, and you'll learn that skill. And that super reminds me of like playing Pokemon and meeting gym. What do you call them? Gym leaders? Yeah, meeting gym leaders. Where you kind of like you gain these skills. You get instead of getting Pokemon, you or a badge, you gain this skill as Kay Vess, which I really like. I think that's a big. A part of the game to kind of drive it forward, like the upgradability of a character or a format is really important. And I think that's a high stakes thing for me. When it comes to the actual villains and enemies you'll encounter, they're leaning heavily into the crime syndicate part of the game, which I, again, pretty much prefaced. We saw this a lot in the trailer. We saw that the Pikes are involved. We saw that Kira's involved. And even the Hutt, expansion is there as well. And those are the four gangs. Those are the main three gangs. And then they've also created a brand new syndicate for this game. So again, they're leaning into a lot of the history of Star Wars. Like there's a lot of original things here. We can go to Tatooine, like etc. But they also create, with everything original that they have in this game, they're also adding in something new. So there's the 3 main gangs, which is the Pike Syndicate, the Hutt Syndicate, and Crimson Dawn, which I'm very excited for. Crimson Dawn. I was really excited to see Kira in the trailer, and I'm excited to see the Crimson Dawn's element of playing to the story. But those are the 3 main syndicates that we already know about. But then there's also a new syndicate called the Ashiga Clan. The Ashiga Clan is a syndicate that is based on a Kijimi. So Kijimi was that snowy planet in Rise of Skywalker. So those 4 syndicates are the enemies, essentially. But what is interesting is that this isn't like a step-by-step. And this is where this whole open world of what everyone's talking about is coming in. It's not just, you defeat the Pikes, you defeat the Hutts, you defeat the Ashiga. Like, you don't just step through the game. These are all kind of existing and functioning at once. And this is where this open worldness comes in, because different parts of the game and at certain times you can completely choose your own adventure. You could team up with the Pikes, you could team up with the Hutts, you could team up with the Ashiga Clan or the Crimson Dawn, and you can do work for them. You can do challenges for them, do bounties for them, and that a big part of the game and the core part of the game is your reputation as a bounty hunter within the game with other characters and syndicates. And so who you work with directly relates to the consequences for K and where you are at as a bounty hunter. So again, it's not just about, defeating ABC. It's very much more choose your own adventure. It reminds me so much of that, where you can decide to work with a certain syndicate or team up with someone, and another syndicate will know that, and then that your decision, it comes back to your reputation, is affected by that a little bit. Yeah, Nyx is so cute. I'll get to Nyx in a second. Very, very cute. Hey Jesse, how you doing? How are you doing? Do you have a planet you prefer the most from the game? I'm keen to just run around Tatooine, to be honest. Absolutely. I think Tatooine is probably number 1. But I'm excited to see another planet, which I'll get to in just a minute too. So if that makes sense, so those are the main clans. So again, the main thing coming into this that I understood of they just kept calling this such an open world game. And that really does seem to be the big thing of it. And I'll show a clip of my reaction to the gameplay in a second. But again, many clans, it's not an ABC. It's a how you choose to side and do what missions, and that will affect other things within the game, which is really cool. I think that adds that flexibility. So because my thing is with Jedi Survivor, as much as the maps, the destinations, the even space, it feels open world in a way where you can really explore lots of parts of the maps, but there is a kind of determined journey for you to go on, where this game isn't like that. Obviously within a mission you have steps to do, and you got to go meet this person or find this boss or someone, find this expert. There is that element of it. But that isn't linear. You choose what those steps are going to be, and then it just tells you within those kind of missions what to be doing. But that's a really big part of the game. So I think, again, just to reiterate, sounding like a broken record, but again, it helps that open world feel that you choose and decide where the character is going to go. I like that. That feels very bounty hunter-esque. Do you pay homage to John Williams with the music? That's a good question. I didn't hear enough of the music to comment on that. That's interesting. That is interesting. Alex, they have to keep on Critical Drink. Who's Critical Drinker? I think he would fit right in on a lot of topics on Star Wars and future projects. I don't know who Critical Drinker is. Or is that a group of people? Or is it I'm assuming it's a channel? Anyway. Talking a little bit now about the design of the game. This is also what we got to learn a lot about, which, as a very visual learner and a visual person, I love this part of it. So jumping into Sam is the lead concept design, and he had a fantastic presentation about the look of the game. And this is where some great pieces of kind of Easter eggs of Star Wars creation comes into it, because for all the environments that they created, for obviously the planets, but also for the new places that they created. So they did create a whole new planet for this game, and also expanding that of Kajimi and Akiva, which Akiva was the planet from the Aftermath trilogy. Shout out to anyone who's read Aftermath. Creating these environments was such a big part of the game, and obviously, they're betting on this game being a very open world game. How do they, make it look Star Wars? How is it not just another planet? And there's two pieces of information that I found very interesting within this presentation. The first one is the ratio of how they approach the design balance of things that are within Star Wars. So this ratio is that of how much does something need to be recognizable and relatable and normal and Earth-like, and how much does something need to be alien, out of space, out of this world, unrecognizable? What is the ratio of that? And this is something that I found such an interesting design kind of rule, and they said they utilize this all parts of the game, from the characters and the ships and the planets, which is 80% is recognizable and Earth-like and real, and 20% is alien, and that is the perfect ratio apparently. Yes, Kajimi is in the Rise of Skywalker. It's the only time we see it actually. So yes, that is very true. That is very true. So it's this 80% real world, relatable and recognizable, and 20% alien and out of this world style that creates, this was directed from Lucasfilm, that creates the perfect balance of a Star Wars feeling, look of something, whether it's a planet, a character, an alien, environment, ship, speeder, all those kinds of things. Seeing the planets trailer this morning just made me realize how many hours I'm going to spend just looking at trees and mountains in this game. That's so true. That's so true. I think, because there's quite a lot of planets. So this is a great question, Avalon. I've got actually some, and I'm about to jump into this right now. So this is a great segue. This is a great segue, and I'm glad you asked this question, because I had that question too. Looking at the trailer, looking at the clips of gameplay and all that kind of stuff, I had that thought until we got to learn a little bit more about the design in this presentation. The thing that they brought up and talked about is a lot about the design of the game and why they went about making it the way it looks. One of the interesting things that they brought up is that they use a certain percentage of edge blur on all the surfaces and all the edges within the game, within the screen. So all the edges are meant to look slightly blurred. Now, this is actually directly trying to replicate the original trilogy feel. So it's purposefully a little grainy in a way, a little, the edges aren't 100% crisp. That is 100% intentional, which blew my mind, because that was I noticed that watching everything, going like, this feels like a little grainy. Like, why isn't this as clear as it should be? But this was 100% intentional to match that energy, the visual appearance of the original trilogy, because we're in that timeline. We're in between Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi. We're in this timeline, and that was a visual cue that they were very strict about having, that they're not having these crisp, perfect lines in the edges of outlines and objects, that there is this tiny bit of blur and graininess added to it, which is very interesting. Very, very interesting. Another part of the design and look of the game that they brought up and mentioned is that they use a lot of lens flare and coloring that was based on the cinematic flares and coloring systems that they used for Rogue One, which I found an interesting movie to base the cinematic look of a game on. But I guess it makes sense, because Rogue One cinematically was quite impressive, and there was a lot of effort and energy into that movie of how it cinematically looked. So that was a note that they mentioned, and they were quite certain of, made a point of that Rogue One was a big cinematic inspiration of how this game would look visually, which is really, really interesting. Yeah, you can do. You can do. I'm hearing 30 hours, but to me, that's so subjective. You know what I mean? But from what I know, it's 30 hours. 30 hours. Is it just me who thinks Kay Vest's character model doesn't look as good as the rest of the game? That's a good question. That's a good statement. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like, and this is where I'll jump into actually playing the game in just a moment too, because all of what I've shared so far is just the information that we got told and we got presented. But I'm going to jump into my actual thoughts of playing the game. But I kind of get what you mean. So the only other interesting, the other piece of information that we got that I found, really cool to hear them talk about, especially these game developers that, spend all the time working in these companies, is that their focus on for conceptual art, especially hearing from Sam, who was head of concept design for the game, was their almost total concept design with approaching the design of planets, characters, and ships and creatures and everything was Ralph McQuarrie. They weren't using newer kind of stimulus. I did mention cinematically they went off Rogue One, and the edge grain is they used based on original trilogy. But when it comes to actually design of how a creature, ship, or something would look, they were directly based on Ralph McQuarrie work, which is really cool because I think obviously that's such a big part of Star Wars design. Obviously, Ralph McQuarrie being the original designer of so many, elements of Star Wars that we identify with. And it's the same for this game. It makes sense to me, always going back to those roots of design when it came to designing things. I think that's such a just simply perfect way to go about starting off designing something new, or even just building on something already constructed. That is the best way to do it. I don't think you can do it any other way. Basing things off Ralph McQuarrie. Do they ever say you can customize Kay in Jedi Survivor type of way? You can. It's not to the extent. It's definitely not to the extent that is in Jedi Survivor. But you do have different outfits. You can get different clothes. That's the main thing. You can't change the hair and all that kind of thing like Cal can. But you can change outfits. There's a X-wing pilot outfit. There's a Imperial outfit. There's a cold weather outfit for Kijimi and things like that. So there's different outfits you can get. Very interesting. Very interesting. Now let's jump into a little bit of what I thought of the game. Because that, again, like I said, that all of what I've shared so far, that's kind of the run of the info we got of the presentation. But what did I actually think of the game? Well, now we're going to jump into a little snippet. And again, I'll be posting a full detailed review of everything and all the information we've got here into a video dropping tomorrow night. So keep your eyes out for that. But this is a little clip that will be in the video tomorrow. This was me immediately after playing about an hour and a half of the game. This was my immediate thoughts. I just really stood up and pressed record. And these are my direct thoughts from playing the game. Hang on, let me get the music off. Hang on. Just finished playing about an hour and a half of Star Wars Outlaws. And first off, very different to what I expected, I think. The trailer encapsulates such an interesting part of the game, and I think it's definitely a more cinematic trailer, but the actual gameplay itself felt a lot more natural. Really easy movement between tasks, shooting, talking, moving things, using tools, and I really enjoyed that aspect of it. Another thing coming into this, obviously being such a big Star Wars gamer, is my, not concern, but thoughts of how is this going to compare to Jedi Survivor, Jedi Fallen Order, EA's side of Star Wars story games. In a way, it's similar because, I guess you're just playing as this solo character and you're going on the story. But in every other way, it's very, very different in terms of its the width of the game. They've been saying how open world this game is, and that is very true. It's very, very true. It is very broad. You can go anywhere, which you can do in Fallout, or you can do in Survivor, but this, I can't put my finger on it, but it feels different. The breadth of it is just absolutely incredible, and it's something that's, even within an hour and a half of playing the game, was such a fun part of it, because you could genuinely move around and not feel like you're missing out on something else, because you're just in that constant state of discovery of, what's behind the next door, who do you want to talk to, who's got a connection to someone else. So that's a really interesting part of it that I don't think, it's hard to put that kind of energy and feeling into a trailer or, a 2-second clip of the gameplay. But that was very prevalent for me in the gameplay that I really enjoyed. I know they've been saying at the breadth of it, but it really, really does feel like such a wide and broad game in terms of its gameplay and its feel it gives in terms of being immersed in the world and being immersed in the environment you're in. You do feel that, and that did come across very, very well, very quickly in the game. But anyway, it's my initial thoughts jumping off the game, playing a little while, playing for it for a little while. And my immediate reaction and thoughts to the game. Very excited to get the whole thing, and I'm very interested to see the whole narrative of this character and the underworld. The underworld element, nailed it. It's the Star Wars underworld. It's underworld. It's so cool. There we go. So that clip will be in a video dropping out tomorrow. What about now? You got me. You got me now. You got me now. Okay, we're back then. How open world is it? Big time. And you saw in that little clip there, I mentioned that a little bit, is that within the hour and a half, I already get that impression of you can really. Oh, we back now. We back now. We're back now. Okay, cool. But the open wellness is what struck me. I said this a little bit before I go, but again, the missions, the syndicates, that element of it, it's not a 1, 2, 3 step of what you need to defeat and do. It's you choose who you side with, who you talk to. Once you're within a mission, I had time within the 2 hours of gameplay. I went to go talk to someone and about the boss I need to meet. Within a mission, there is also, obviously directives. There's obviously hey, this is you need to go to this cantina and talk to someone here to figure out this step. But that was decided upon what I could do. So even with the people next to me, so there was a few other people there. I didn't know them, which was really cool. But we were sitting kind of all in a row. You kind of saw it in the video back there, all the PCs and everything set up. But even within the hour and a half, we all started at the same point. They all started us in this on Tashana, this new planet, and we could all just go into town, and we were all doing different parts, different things within, even though we started at the same point. I was talking to a crime boss in a cantina, but the person next to me was out getting a part for his ship that a mechanic told him to go get. Literally within an hour time frame, we were doing completely different things, but they were still building the story and still part of it. So if that answers the open world thing a little bit, in a short sense, then it's build your own adventure. That's at least what my impression for the first part of the game. And even afterwards, once we had finished talking with other people, going, oh, so what did you get up to? I went to, I visited, took a speeder to the other town, and I had to go ask someone for help, finding this person. And I went, oh, that's funny. I stayed here and went to this cantina. So again, it just opened up. It just opened up. I didn't get to that part. We did see it. We did see it in the presentation, but I didn't get to it. So unfortunately, I can't comment to how that felt. But I'm a big Squadrons fan. I loved Star Wars Squadrons, the game. And obviously, we have a bit of flight stuff with other Star Wars games, but I didn't get to feel it in this game. I'm assuming it's not that different, but I didn't get to experience it. So I can't comment if that's crappy or not, essentially. Pretty cool. It's pretty fun comparing gameplays and talk of how we approach the game differently. Yes, it's really interesting. It does feel like this sounds so weird, but it feels like a Pokemon game in terms of these experts that they talk about. Like the experts teach you different skills, and that's how you level up. I like that. It's cool. It does feel very different. And again, in the clip, I said there I was worried about how this would feel to just the Battlefront campaign, and also and also the Jedi Fallen Order campaign. I was personally worried about how that would feel, how this game would feel against those games. Because, those are great campaigns. I love the Battlefront 2 campaign. I love the Jedi Survivor and Fallen Order games. How would this compare to that? This is totally different. This has a totally different feel to me. I thought it was going to be the same. Like, okay, we're just running around in a Star Wars world. The purpose of it felt different. And again, this is all from under 2 hours gameplay. I was like, this feels different. And I've played to an extreme extent of Fallen Order and also the Battlefront campaign. And yeah, definitely within 2 hours, I could feel how different this game was to those games, which I liked. I didn't want this to be a carbon copy of those games, just different. So that's cool. That's cool. You're doing glad. Oh, I love it. What other questions? What other questions are we got in here? I feel like I missed a bunch. No, I mean, I think that's subjective to what I played. It was pretty interesting. It was pretty engaging for me. But another part of the game, which I really enjoyed, which I think is to be aware, is that the combat. Let's talk about the combat for a second, because that was something that felt very interesting. Because it isn't, obviously, you're not a Jedi. You have a blaster. That's your main thing to focus on. But the combat isn't just oh my gosh. It's not just kind of like a run-in, like Battlefront style, where you just kind of just shoot who's in front of you. It's a bit more calculated, and because there's a very, very large focus on the stealth of this game. Going about missions, a lot of it is secretive. A lot of it you have to be not undercover, but you have to be, hiding, crawling through vent spaces, and trying to find your way about something and sneak into somewhere secret. And a lot of the game of that, a part of that is what I experienced, a lot of sneaking around. And that has an interesting element where you can sneak around, but if you just sprint in, the enemies will be warned of your presence and they know you're there, and then they start shooting at you. Where if you sneak in the right way and you hide behind cover, and they don't visually, you don't stay in their line of sight, you can sneak around places and you can not have any, not confront them and not need to defeat them. Whereas when they're alerted to you, they know you're there. Then you kind of engage in combat. And once you're in there, it's pretty standard. It's a bit like Battlefront in that way. You just in combat, then you're in that cycle until everyone's down. Which is really, really interesting. Hey, Tony, how you doing? Can't wait to play. Lucky you got to go. So, thank you, my friend. You're the celebrity. What are you talking about? You're the celebrity, my guy. You legend. You legend. You hate stealth games. That's interesting. Yeah, if you hate stealth games, I don't know if you'll... Because you can not do stealth. That's the thing. It's 50-50. You can either sneak around and not engage in combat, or you can just go into a room and kill everyone and then keep going. So it's not a total deal breaker, because you can go either way. It's 50-50. You don't have to be stealth. You just can be stealth in those situations, if that makes sense. If that makes sense. Yeah, true. I haven't played Assassin's Creed, but Masters Kirsty and Kirsty and Saj are big Assassin's Creed fans. So yeah, I think that's probably a very strong element of it. But again, it's 50-50. You don't have to be stealthy. Probably a Jedi. Probably. Ubisoft is my biggest worry for Outlaws. Yeah, well, actually, I read all that, Yava. You are quite concerned about that. You were quite concerned, aren't you? But continuing on with the gameplay and the feel for it, the other part of the gameplay that I really loved and kind of felt really giddy about playing is the tools and accessories. Oh my gosh, this is very, very cool, this part of it. That, for me at least, this is all just my own subjective opinion of playing it. Like Evelyn, you might not like stealth, but I enjoy the stealth. So the tools and accessories for Kay and also Nyx, we haven't talked too much about Nyx yet as well, is quite strong in the game. You know, it's not just opening doors, but it's like accessing things, remembering information from people, using devices. That big part of the game, big part of the game to like move around. But it's very simple. It's very like user friendly to remember what to do. But that was a really, really cool part of the game. And you know, talking about Nyx, cute little side character, a classic cute little Star Wars creature, but actually super useful. It genuinely is. He is very useful. I was playing on Xbox, but left trigger kind of opens up for you to send Nyx somewhere, essentially. So if you you press left trigger, you line Nyx up to go somewhere. You could get him to jump onto like a light fitting, and that will like explode the light fitting, so that'll make a distraction for guards or something. You can send Nyx to go grab tools and weapons. So if you've killed someone like a far away and you want their gun, you can go tell Nyx to go get that gun, and he brings it to you. So then you can change out guns. You can pick up enemies' guns. Same with like there's like health spikes and things like that around and elements like that. As well as, you know, this has been shown a little bit in the gameplay that we have seen from the trailers, that you can send him, you know, through vents to open doors. That's also just another practical way he's involved, where you kind of, you know, you're on a ledge, but you'll send Nyx across somewhere for him to go open the door, and then you can cross. That element was such a big part of it, and that was actually really fun because it felt like Nyx was a tool. I feel so bad like being like, he's not a person or a human, but Nyx was like a tool, and that was actually really fun to get used to that. So, you know, you're going about the game, moving around, jumping on things, shooting things, opening things, but as you're doing all those movements, I was also trying to get used to like sending Nyx places. So like as I'm running to like open this door in time, I'm sending Nyx to go like grab me that gun so I can like kill, you know, explode a doorway to get through and things like that. It was very like multifunctional. There was like a flow to it that was actually really fun and enjoyable. Which, you know, apart from it being like another cute Star Wars creature, I was like, okay, there's Nyx. Until I played the game and I was like, okay, this is actually a practical thing. Like BD, but times 10. Times 10. BD was like, you get to, the zip line, or you get to, you know, open a crate and you can tell BD what to do. When Nyx is a lot more integrated into the game. Again, it's like when you're moving around, when you're needing multiple things, Nyx is what you use. So that's what I enjoyed. I love BD in the games. Beautiful droid. Everyone loves BD. But Nyx you utilize just like 10 times more than BD. Because you don't, you know, you're not just stationary for it. You know, like you have to be stationary to use BD in Jedi Survivor, but Nyx you just use all the time for anything. It's cool. It's really, really cool. Honestly, it looks very similar to Assassin's Creed and other open world games. And to be fair, my biggest concern is bugs on release. Oh, I'll get to that. I think gameplay will otherwise be right up my alley. That's true. I guess there were upgrades for Nyx. Yes, actually, there's cosmetic things you can have for Nyx. There's cosmetic things that you can add in. It's cool. Yeah, there's a lot of stealth. That's a big part of it. Stealthy gameplay sounds cool. Yeah. Splinter Cell? What's that? I've never heard of that. Splinter Cell? Interesting. But yes, so Nyx is such a big part of the game, and that was really, really cool. In terms of the storyline, again, it's hard to obviously comment too much on the narrative and the actual, you know, character development. You know, I'll mention the things I can't comment on if they're good or bad now, which is one is the character development. Obviously, we only got to play 2 hours of the game. I don't really know, I didn't get to see too much into Kay's character. I don't know how big of a, you know, focus there's on her actual development. But that, you know, I just played as her, and it was more just on the movement and flow of the game that I got to feel and experience. So not sure if it's good or bad, the character development. And also, and someone mentioned this before, but the space combat and maneuvering in space, I didn't get to feel, so I'm not sure if that's good or bad yet. It looks good. It looks cool. It's a cool concept. They did explain that and in designing that as well. It's very thorough in the way that you can really just go into space. And there's quite a few space stations that they designed. They were quite intentional in making some big, designs in space where you can actually arrive somewhere, like to some like mechanical outposts and things like that, which is really, really cool. So interesting. I heard that someone had a bug where they picked up a gun, and when it entered a new area, the gun was dropped. Oh, interesting. Because I did experience within the 2 hours of I think there was two, but there was only one I felt. Is that there was a certain line of dialogue that a NPC said. I forget what the line of dialogue was. It was like, "Oh, we got to check over there now," or something. It was just like a very short sentence that a character near me had said. That was like a part of the scenery as I was walking through an area of a town, and it bugged out where it said that sentence about 20 times, just over and over again. But I let them know, and I was like, "Yo, this guy's still talking." But he was just this one character being like, "We're over there now. We gotta go over there now. We gotta go over there now." I was like, "Oi." But again, I'm kind of coming from this from a Star Wars fan point of view, not a gamer point of view, which sounds counterintuitive, but it's like I have more experience with judging things, their Star Wars quality and their Star Wars fit in the galaxy more than a gaming person, because I'm like, what game doesn't have bugs on release? Is that normal? I feel like that's fairly normal these days, but it's interesting. It's interesting. So that was the only bug I felt during the game, but it was pretty funny. Hey, Star Wars nerd, how you doing? Cyberphonic! I'm your biggest fan. What are you doing in here? Hey, Ledge, how you doing? I hope you're having the best day ever, my friend. There we go. I'm your biggest fan. Thank you for being here. He got a bug where he heard someone do a death scream and grunt, lived for 4 minutes. Yes! Maybe I think that was the other thing, because I heard, someone looped this sentence. I think someone else did a grunt. I think that was my other thing that I experienced. Yes. Someone was grunting just over and over and over again, which was kind of off-putting, to be honest. So yeah. But that was the only bugs. I didn't experience any kind of like combat or like physical ones. It was sound bugs, which was interesting. Betcha. Dude, that's like almost as old as me. Come on. Exactly. It's like bugs. They're gonna be there, right? I feel like it's in every game. But it depends how much that affects the game. True. Not saying that like bugs are fun. That's hilarious. But yeah, I honestly think I've summed up so much of like, my feelings with the game in that, because I said something very similar to this in the video I showed just before, but it doesn't feel like the trailers. That's what stuck out to me. The trailers feel still very much cinematic trailers, where they're just like, this is the hopeful journey of the story of the character, and it doesn't at all show the grit and actual focus and complexity of the actual gameplay. That's a good thing. Like it should have shown more of that, but I guess it might be hard to do that in a game, like a video game trailer. The trailer is still very, very cinematic. It's the actual gameplay was so much more just in touch. You felt like, like I was saying, the tools and controls that you need to do to like work through a room, talk to people, pick up things and pick up items and go figure out something to do. That was a lot more tactile in terms of you feel like you need to be thinking about it, and you're in Kay's mind going, okay, I need to go talk to this person. I need to get into this area. I need some credits to go in and to, get through this room. I got to pay them, some sort of credits to get in there. How do I earn credits? Oh, there's a sabak booth over here. You can play sabak in this game if you didn't know. Or there's like a betting game on like, it's like Star Wars horse racing game that you can like bet on. Or I'll go in and play, place a bet within this cantina and earn some credits. Then I'll meet someone there that says, hey, this is this, boss over here that you need to meet, and all these kinds of things. Like the tactile complexity of the actual movement throughout the game was not at all encapsulated through the trailers, and that was something that was really I loved that, real in-world feel for it for me once I was playing the game, and that just did not come across in trailers. Yes, good point. If there is bugs, how quickly can they fix them? Do you think there's any do you think there's a reason behind there not being any Lego sets for Outlaws? To be fair, they Lego isn't timely with when they release things. Like, I think we got the first Star Wars Jedi Fallen Lego set like 1-2 years after Fallen Order came out, and that's for most shows as well. So that's not bizarre that we don't have a Lego set for Outlaws. I would, if you asked me that in maybe 6-12 months time, I'd be like, yeah, that is weird. But I would expect maybe even like as early as January next year, we could have some Outlaw sets. Especially a Nyx. Are you kidding? A little Lego Nyx would be adorable. Oh, good question. Be mindful. The speeder bike, because this is where we all started off. So me and the 15 other people that played, we all jumped in at the same time. And like I was saying before, we all went on different things and different missions. That's the open worldness. We all started at the same point. We all had completely different experiences with the game. But we all started. We had, we were on the ship and we had landed on a planet, and we had to go into town essentially, and we had our speeder. So we all started on the speeder. Speeder felt good. It felt good. You can drive around anywhere. There's certain parameters. There's certain, dead spaces that you can't drive. But you can drive around and you can go to there's different towns. There's different settlements. A certain area outside the town that's like run by pirates. So I got caught up, as I was trying to get to town. I got caught by these pirates that were trying to take me down and shoot me down. I had to kill them, and getting on and off the speeder was, felt normal, felt good. It felt very standard. It felt like just normal, but it felt pretty cool to use a speeder like that. It wasn't mind blowing. It just felt normal. It felt normal to utilize that, but it was very cool. It was very, very cool. Yeah, dude, you literally sit down and play Sabak, and the detail of that. It's not just like a cutscene where it's like, Sabak, haha, I win. It's not a cutscene. It's not that, which you would feel in something like Jedi Survivor or Fallen Order. It's not a scene like that. Like, that's that open worldness coming in here. It's like you can actually sit down, press AXY, press your buttons, and play Sabak, which is really cool. Same with you can bet on things. You can, engage in gambling and fighting with people and talking to people that you just cannot have that ability in other games for Star Wars. So open worldness, again, coming through there is really cool. Can you do a wheelie on the speeder? I don't know. I don't think so. I didn't try doing a wheelie. Hey, from UK. Thank you for chiming in. Pretty great. It's late there, though. It's like 2 a.m. What are you doing? I love it. Yes, yeah. Well, I don't know what that is called. I don't know what those creatures are called, but it was those. Yeah, I've seen people saying that they can download it, like a pre-download. I haven't seen people having it yet, though. There we go. 3 a.m. in Sweden. How you up? Hey, one of the concept designer, Sam, who shared a lot of this information I've been talking about, was from Sweden. He was fantastic. What a guy. Yeah, is it? Yeah, I haven't played Red Dead, but does that sound similar? Yeah, it's very, very engaging in that way. You get to sit down and do it. You got to figure it out. It's really, really cool. But we'll start to wrap up in a short little while here for this live show. But like I said, if you want to know more about it, I'm going to be putting a lot of the information I talked about today in this kind of, conversational way into a detailed video that'll be dropping out tomorrow night. So you can get the full rundown and full overview of everything that I learned and I experienced in my concise way. But if you've got any more questions about the game, drop them in the chat right now. But apart from that, you know what? It really opened me up to the game a lot more. Again, I think a negative thing I have to say is that the trailer does not do it justice. The trailer was just too cinematic, and it was too kind of Star Wars, where it's it's so much more complex than I thought. And I think that's why I hadn't been engaging as hard. But actually playing the game, I'm like, oh, this is really actually complex and a part of the galaxy in a great way. So it's really interesting. It's really interesting. Hey, $10 redos coming in from the Tilly Fund. Please check Discord message after stream. Sure thing. Sure thing. Can you buy death sticks? I'm not sure, but I'm sure you can, to be honest. I'm sure you can. What does DB got to say? That's so funny. That's so funny. Moving to New Zealand next year. I hope it works out. Yeah, man. New Zealand's great. It's a cool place to live. Cool place to live. But yeah, my biggest thing, you know, playing the game again, it's just a lot more complex and grittier than what we've seen in the trailers and even on the gameplay. But I'm really, really excited. Again, make sure you check out the video I'll be dropping tomorrow with all the extra information that I might have missed out today. But it was such a great event. It was so cool. They had some Wookiee cookies there and some Sarlacc sandwiches, and they had some great things to keep us happy and fueled. Being at this event, it was so fantastic to hear people from Massive Entertainment come and talk to us about the game. That was just so cool. Just to hear creators that work on Star Wars projects like talk about, you know, what they do, how they create things within this galaxy that means so much to us as fans. Like hearing creative professional people actually talk about it was just such a pleasure. And again, the Ubisoft team was just so great. I love Australian promotional teams. They're so relaxed. They're so chill. They're so chill. They're fantastic. They're absolutely fantastic. Thank you, Avlon. I appreciate that. I hope I gave a well-rounded review. Again, this is not like a paid thing or a sponsored partnership in any way. They just were like, hey, come and feel it out for yourself. And that is what I thought of the game. So very, very excited to stream this game once it's been dropping. We'll be playing it every second day. So we'll have a big slew of streams happening here on the channel in a few weeks' time when the game drops. And I'm less than a few weeks' time. It's like in 10 days. So I'm very, very excited for that. It's going to be a good time. Gaming streams we haven't done for a long time. Since Survivor, we had fantastic time with Survivor and other games as well. So this is going to be really exciting to sink our teeth into this. We're going to be spending a lot of time with each other. So I hope you get used to being here on the channel. But thank you so much for dropping in today and hearing me ramble about this game. Keep your eye out for the full detailed video dropping tomorrow night. And I really appreciate you being here, hearing my experience and story with the game. It was such an honor. It was such a thrill. And I can't wait to play it more and actually have the game myself and get into it and get into the character and gameplay more. It's going to be exciting. I hope you can join me for the experience. Thanks so much for being here. Shout out to the Masters for supporting me here on the channel and all the other members and Soupies today. Before we go out and get off the show, make sure when you're out in the world that you're always choosing the right side. Oh my god. CG! CG! What are you doing? Right now? You're coming in right now. What are you doing? You missed it. Oh, I love it. It's good. Outlaws is good, my friend. You can't miss it. You can't miss it. All right. Members, I'll see you later. Hang on. Thank you, CG. Much love, my guy. You legend. I'll see you soon.